The history of Japan includes the history of Japanese islands and the people of Japan and covers the history of this country as a nation-state from prehistoric times to modern history. The first known written reference to Japan is the 1st century AD and is found in the collection of Chinese texts 24 dates. However, evidence suggests that humans have lived in the Japanese islands since the late Paleolithic era. Until the end of the last ice age, Japan was connected by land to the Eurasian continent. The melting of the ice caused the separation of the Japanese islands from the land masses of the Eurasian continent. Stable patterns of the life and signs of civilization appeared with the German culture, and ironwork began around 500 years BC during what is known as the Yayoi period. At the end of this period, a large population migrated from the Korean peninsula to Japan. From around the 3rd century AD, with the Kofun period, Japan's prehistory ends, and the era of ancient history of this land begins. The culture that is formed in this period is based on Shinto religion. During the Asuka period, this Chinese script was chosen for writing the Japanese language, and Buddhism was introduced through the land of Korea. This ritual was accepted by the emperor in the later era, which is called the Nara period, and magnificent Buddhism shrines such as Todoji Temple were built by this order. The Heian period is the era of the emergence of powerful families such as the Fujiwara family, who take over military power in practice. And this is synonymous with the end of ancient history and the beginning of the feudal era in Japanese history. With the rise of shoguns in the Kamakura period, the Kamakura military dictatorship is established. In the same period, the Mongols attacked Japan twice, and each time they lost their ships and military equipment and were defeated by a fierce storm known as kamikaze. A little later, in the Muromachi period and in the era of civil wars, Portuguese ships found their way to the west coast of Japan and communication with Europe began. With the end of the civil wars came the Azuchi Momoyama period, and in the era of political stability. In the Edo period, the Takuya period, dictatorships attempt to maintain the worn-out political system of this country failed, and with the arrival of American warships under the command of Captain Matthew Perry in Tokyo Bay in 1853, Japan's feudal era ended. In the modern era, Japan quickly took a path of modernization, and in the Meiji period, with the defeat of Russia, it became a world power. In World War I, which took place during the Taisho period, Japan sided with Great Britain, France, and Russia, and got a permanent seat in the Council of the League of Nations. The process of militarization in the Showa period led to the invasion of China. Japan did not accept the protest of the League of Nations and left this organization. After the beginning of World War II, following the US oil embargo, Japan attacked Pearl Harbor. As the result, America entered the war and forced Japan to surrender with the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki in 1945. With the end of the war and the 7-year occupation of Japan, the country underwent extensive democratic reforms and restructuring of economic institutions. With the signing of the San Francisco Peace Treaty, Japan regained its independence. Japan experienced rapid growth during this period and became a major economic power. During the Heisei period, the low interest rate and the increase in the strength of the yen in foreign exchange caused the influx of foreign investors to this country. But in the 1990s, the stock of this country fell and the so-called Japanese economic bubble ended. In the year that followed, the expansion of the export industries of Korea and China took over a part of Japan's global markets, and today, in the evaluation of these years, it is sometimes referred to as the lost decade. However, Japan, with more than the $5.5 trillion gross national products, is still the third largest economic power in the world. On the morning of May 1, 2019, Naruhito officially became Emperor of Japan, ushering in a new era in this country's imperial history. This age is called Reiwa period. He is considered the 126th Emperor of Japan. A day ago, Japan's 85-year-old Emperor Akihito decayed after 30 years and passed the throne to his eldest son, Naruhito. This is the first time in 200 years that a Japanese emperor abdicates. And let's talk about one of the most interesting debates in the history of Japan: timing method in Japanese historiography. Until the time of Emperor Meiji in 1868 AD, the method of naming the era in Japanese was such that the name of the era was changed when a king came to power or an important phenomenon or event. From 1868, the method of king became a common era, and this type of naming system is still popular in Japan today. The origin of Nango or Gango is China. This method of naming the period is popular in countries that have been influenced by Chinese culture, such as Korea and Japan and countries around China.